Welcome back into the Arrowhead Pride Rapid Reaction Show. I am Steven Serda. If you hear a huge bang, it's because people are just popping off fireworks left and right outside of my house here in Kansas City. Is the Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Buffalo Bills in an absolute thriller, another playoff classic between two championship caliber teams. It's a 27-24 win, and I am joined by my co-host, Rocky Magaña, Kramer Sanson in the background, helping us keep this thing moving here tonight. Rocky, Kansas City Chiefs on their way to their sixth straight AFC Championship game, and this is one of the most impressive wins of the season. Now, we'll get into everything. There's a lot to take from this game, and certainly some miscues that almost cost the Chiefs an opportunity, but they take down the Buffalo Bills once again, and I am sure those fans in Buffalo are absolutely devastated.
Effing A, Steven Serda. I think this game might have taken about 4 years off of my life. I am too old of a man to go with these sort of like up and down swings. It was a night where you expected the defense to be the strength of the team, and the defense struggled for much of the game to stop the run. Just a back and forth game all night long. I think that you saw Mahomes and 87 show their experience in the playoffs playing in an extremely hostile environment. And as bad as the Chiefs on a couple of occasions seemed like they tried to give the game away there late in the second half, turns out that the Bills wanted to give it away just a little bit more. And it feels like, after being a Chiefs fan for my whole life, there's so many situations where like wide right is like just something that's burned into you, like your memory to the day you die. And Bills fans have just got to be just puking in their trash cans right now, like just puking. So after just wasting 4 minutes of the last 4 minutes of the game to set up a field goal, just puking in their trash cans.
So that we can start there with the Tyler Bass missed field goal to tie the game. Obviously, just brutal. And as you mentioned, Rocky, Chiefs fans are no strangers to missed field goals in the postseason. But man, just top to bottom, really just a tremendous football game. And I want to start on the Chiefs defensive side of the ball, and we'll get into the offense and everything that was taken away from their performance tonight. Just an incredible performance between the two best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be the MVP, and he is amazing. And he is, I think, number 3 right now for me in the NFL in terms of quarterback rankings go. But I still think it's Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are 1 and 2. And we got another incredible performance from both of those guys tonight. But on the defensive side of the ball, that was really my thing in this game. Like, headed into this game, I really thought the Chiefs were going to find some more success on the defensive side of the ball. And now I'm not concerned about the defense. Like, I don't think there was something in this game that's like, headed into the AFC Championship game, this is something that you can exploit against the Chiefs defense. It has been tremendous all season, but Buffalo was just running on them all night tonight. And you could tell their game plan to try to just cancel out some of those exotic looks from Steve Spagnuolo, some of those pressure looks that he likes to throw at you. It was just quick game, keep everything around the line of scrimmage and run it down their throats until they prove they can stop it. And then Josh Allen started kind of going downfield more once they needed to get some points on the board. But for the most part, it felt like what we've seen from the Bills over the last 6-7 weeks, which is, run the football effectively. We know we can win that way. We know we can play defense and not put Josh Allen in situations where he's going to turn the football over. And the Chiefs almost got a couple tonight, but they wound up not coming up with them. But this isn't the kind of performance from the Chiefs defense where I'm like, oh, this is something to worry about, or it's going to make me doubt the Chiefs defense in the AFC Championship game against Lamar Jackson. We'll have plenty to talk to this week as we get ready for that game, because it's going to be a huge matchup, and the Ravens are playing as well as any team in the NFL and look like they might have the best top to bottom roster in the league right now. But it was just one of those games where it felt like it doesn't matter who's on the defensive side of the ball. And the Chiefs had a couple of injuries, and no Willie Gay leaving this game. It was obviously massive. He winds up leaving early on. Mike Edwards is only in the game for 2 plays before he gets a concussion and winds up leaving. So like some key injuries to keep an eye on as we move forward. But it was just this kind of performance, Rocky, that I think we were all expecting. And it's very rare that we actually get them, that these kinds of games actually like live up to the hype. But it was really just all about Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and them playing the kind of game tonight in the postseason where it was like, it doesn't matter what you throw at us. I'm going to try to win, and I'm going to go out there and try to make history. And it felt like we got that kind of performance from both quarterbacks tonight.
Yeah, it definitely felt like both quarterbacks were like trying to build upon a legacy. Like they're trying, Josh Allen was trying to get over the hump, and Patrick Mahomes was trying to like not have the off year, like the down year that everybody was expecting. Like it was Patrick Mahomes coming back out and kind of being like, it was his like, forgot about Dre moment. His like I tweeted out partially way through the game, right when Kelce and Mahomes had their first touchdown, a gif of Nate Dogg and Warren G like regulators mount up, and it just felt like that OG old school. We're the best. Like you forgot who we are. Let's mount up and go like show some people who we are type of a football game. And it's interesting because if you would have told me, like, obviously Josh Allen running is a huge part of his game, but if you would have told me the way that they stayed in this game and really punished the Chiefs was by not letting Josh Allen throw the ball really at all game, I would have not put that as like what like the game plan that they were going to go for. But Derek Nottie being out was just such a blow for this defense. And then I think the way that they planned to offset Derek Nottie being out was to spy with Willie Gay Jr. And then Willie Gay Jr. goes out, and then Spagnuolo tries a couple of different things, and eventually you don't see him start to get some real success on stopping Josh Allen until he says, you know what, screw it, I don't care. Like if we're giving something up in pass coverage and other aspects of the defense, we're putting Leo Chenal back there. He's the only guy who's athletic enough to go sideline to sideline and shoot the gaps and come downhill and stop Josh Allen by himself. We don't have anybody else on the team that can do it. As limited as a player as he is defensively and one-dimensional as he is, he's the only guy that's going to stop Josh Allen. So we're selling him out to stop Josh Allen from running the ball. And you saw them have to start just solely going to James Cook a little bit after that. And you saw Josh Allen being a little bit less successful running the ball once they started spying with Leo Chenal. It wasn't the defensive domination that we expect. But, I mean, let's be honest, like, up the gut, the Chiefs were just hollowed out up the gut, like they weren't like, they're just so hurt and injured there. And you can't, they weren't getting any push. Like the Bills center and guards were just displacing the Chiefs interior defensive linemen all game long.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us could have expected that Derek Nottie was going to be such a blow to this defense. But just to get back to kind of the point I was making, like, this is how Buffalo has been playing. Like, this shouldn't have been a surprise to the Chiefs. They just simply couldn't do anything about it all night. James Cook had a nice game. Like, James Cook was running all over them. And in the first half, like you mentioned, the Spags pressure looks like it didn't really seem like Steve Spagnuolo was dialing much up in the first half. And a lot of that is just because the Bills were gaining 6-7 yards every time. Like every time they ran the football, they were gaining these huge chunk runs, and then they were setting up 3rd and short, and it was just easy first downs. And then Josh Allen does what he always does against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is like that annoying, oh, they finally got pressure on him. Oh no, but Josh Allen just avoided it and then ran for 20 yards, which is what he does every time they play him. Like, this is just a tremendous game from both of these quarterbacks, and that they were both amazing. Josh Allen, that deep ball to Stephon Diggs, which Stephon Diggs should have caught, like that could have been a totally game-changing play for them. Like, Josh Allen just launched that ball like 75 yards to the air, and it looked ridiculous. They were both tremendous tonight, and the Chiefs defensively, like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of things to figure out next week ahead of the Baltimore Ravens, but in a season just built around so much frustration and anxiety about the Chiefs' offensive side of the ball, and us talking all season long about this defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. the offense finally showed up. And so I'm not worried about the Chiefs defense. Obviously, the injuries are something to monitor as we move along throughout the week. And that's something we'll have for you at arrowheadpride.com. But overall, I'm not too worried about them because we still saw that their main guys make some plays when they needed to. Chris Jones forces a fumble, which they don't recover and almost could have cost them the game potentially. And then, Trent McDuffie had a couple of huge plays in this game. Jamari Connor had some nice moments having to step in for Mike Edwards. There were several players who made nice plays. George Karlaftis had a huge batted ball on a third down. There was just a lot of key plays from Chiefs defensive players in this game that I think are going to wind up being overlooked just because it was such a special performance from Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And, on the Chiefs offensive side of the ball, you mentioned Travis Kelce, and they needed a big one from him. This was the kind of game like you've been waiting for on Travis Kelce for a while now. I tweeted out after he caught his first touchdown of the night, that was Travis Kelce's first touchdown since November 20th against the Philadelphia Eagles. And he finds the end zone a second time tonight and winds up finishing the game with, I think it was 75 yards. 5 catches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns for Travis Kelce tonight. And that was massive, Rocky, because it didn't really, there wasn't any kind of injury reported for Rashee Rice, but there was 2 different plays in this game where Rashee Rice got up very slow and looked like he was really hurting. And so Rashee Rice didn't have the massive game that we've become accustomed to. And I think some of that is the Bills really kind of leaning towards trying to slow him down. But that opened things up over the middle of the field for Travis Kelce because we know that's where they were banged up. The Bills were incredibly shorthanded at the linebacker position. They even had another linebacker go down in this game. And that's where Travis Kelce found success today. And that was huge for the Chiefs because they've been missing it for a month and a half, 2 months now, Rocky.
I just felt like you hadn't seen your old friend in a few years, and all of a sudden they just showed up unannounced and just had this great game. And I tell you what, I need a lot more Jason Kelce celebrations in my life as a Chiefs fan. That was awesome. I hope that he does retire this year and that Kelce keeps playing so that we get to see Jason Kelce hopefully at every single Chiefs game ripping his shirt off and jumping in the stands to shotgun beers with the fans. But I think that, just coming out like Rashee Rice, you're right. They keyed on him a little bit and he got banged up. They were hitting him pretty hard. He took some really hard hits in this game, but the plays that he made were so crucial and so key.
Yeah.
Right? Like he didn't make a lot of plays, but the plays that he made were crucial plays to pick up first downs and get the ball, downfield when we needed him to. And so even though he, on the stat line, it's not going to look like he had a huge game, importance wise, he had a huge game. Like he was awesome. He was awesome tonight. Honestly, you could say 98% of the offense was awesome tonight, with the exception of a couple of plays that we'll get into those. We'll get into those here in a minute. But yeah,
you mentioned that, Rocky, about Rashee Rice, and I want to say 3 of his 4 catches went for first downs tonight, and he only winds up with 4 catches for 47 yards. But yeah, he was good. MVS, 2 catches, 62 yards. I'm assuming that's his best stat line of the season. And he had 2 monster catches. And when you think back to last year's AFC Championship game, I know he had some big catches in that game against the Bengals. Like, this is just Sammy Watkins all over again. MVS has just an absolutely brutal, really unprecedented year for the amount of money that he is making on this team. And just again in crunch time has a couple of critical plays where he comes up big, and we're going to remember those things and those moments a lot more about Marquez Valdez-Scantling than we will the brutal regular season that he had.
Trying to secure his $12 million for next year. He's trying to not lose that $12 million next year. Like trying to come in and win it back at the end for us. I don't think it's going to happen either, but he was a guy who looked like he was probably playing for his paycheck here. But yeah, no, that's the whole thing. It's like MVS stepped up. Isaiah Pacheco, he had Isaiah Pacheco ran like hell on wheels out there tonight. Like, and slowly but surely, it seems like his vision has gotten a little bit better. He's not going lateral nearly as much anymore. He's taking good lines to the hole. He's hitting it hard. He's following his blockers a little bit more. I was really impressed with how Isaiah Pacheco played today. I thought he played a really good game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire Nurse Clyde out there making some really big plays. God bless him out there, working to save lives and working to keep us alive in the playoffs. And so really, really big, really great job by Clyde. The offensive line on the whole just moved, like we talked about the Buffalo Bills interior offensive line moving bodies. I mean, I thought Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey had a really good game, and Juwan Taylor even had some really crucial plays. And I've been really critical of him this year, but he looked really good today. They kept Mahomes clean for the most part. They kept him upright. He didn't get sacked. Mahomes navigated the pocket really well. It was just a really clean performance by the offense today, and it was just like one of those things where you're like, oh, that's what this feels like. That's what this looks like when the Chiefs have an offense that's clicking on all cylinders, when Patrick Mahomes is in all Madden mode and you can't stop him, and Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce, and for the most part they're calling a pretty legit game plan, and they have a good plan of attack, and they're getting touchdowns in the red zone. They're not settling for field goals, and they're just like, and they're not flinching. Like, that's the thing, is there's probably only a handful, maybe a few teams in the entire NFL that have the spine and the guts to play in this game like the Bills and the Chiefs did. I'll take my hats off to the Bills. They played a great game, but the kind of back and forth game that this was, 98% of the teams in the NFL fold in this game, and it ends up being a blowout. To go blow for blow, just like Ollie Foreman, back and forth like this was the entire game, and just did not flinch and just come back out and say, okay, it's my turn now, was impressive on both sides. And the fact that the Chiefs came out on top, like, I mean, we're alive for another day, Steven Serda. The Chiefs, your Kansas City Chiefs are back in the AFC Championship game yet again, going after they're one game away from going to back-to-back Super Bowls yet again, Steven Serda. Like, that's amazing. Like, I didn't think we'd be here. Honest to God, I didn't think we'd be here.
I felt strong about their chances of making another AFC Championship game. Now, I don't want to tip my hand here about how I feel about this AFC Championship match against the Baltimore Ravens, because I think they're a very, very talented team. But you mentioned that, and that second half between the Ravens and the Texans, where it was just a blowout in the second half by the Ravens. Baltimore just came out and they were totally unstoppable. And it's because at the end of the day, like, Baltimore at this stage compared to where the Houston Texans are is just a dramatically more talented team right now. The Texans are on their way. They're moving up, and they're ahead of schedule by all means. But the Chiefs and Bills are very evenly matched teams, and it comes down to just a handful of plays that wind up being the deciding factor in this thing. And now, obviously, missed field goal by your kicker at a moment where you need him to go out and tie the game, and then Patrick Mahomes has an opportunity to try to take the Chiefs on a game-winning drive potentially. That doesn't happen because Tyler Bass misses the field goal, and that's brutal. That really sucks for Buffalo. That's an awful way to end the season, especially after that kind of game. But also, I'm incredibly relieved that the Chiefs found a way to win this game, because for a while it did not feel that way. And, we talked about, you mentioned Isaiah Pacheco, who has another stellar performance for the Chiefs, 15 carries, 97 yards and a touchdown tonight. And Patrick Mahomes, 17 of 23, 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's just playoff Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's just, I'm not going down without putting up a fight first. And Patrick Mahomes was absolutely brilliant tonight. Like, this is one of the cleanest games the offense has played all season, aside from just awful red zone play call to Mecole Hardman, where, the Chiefs come up with a huge moment in the game. Buffalo goes for it on 4th down. It's a fake punt in their own territory. The Chiefs get set up around the 30-yard line, get right down inside the 5. And for some reason, it's another sweep to Mecole Hardman. And I don't know why Andy Reid loves these plays so much. We've seen them fail over and over and over again, Rocky. And Mecole Hardman fumbles the football out of the end zone and winds up being a touchback. And it was almost just a catastrophic sequence of events for the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, they're really lucky that they escaped Buffalo with a win tonight. If it wasn't for some falters down the line by the Bills, like, the Chiefs could have easily lost this game because of that McCole Hardman play. That play was a total tidal wave of momentum shift in the game where the Chiefs had an opportunity to go up by 2 scores, and you feel like this game's getting out of reach for Buffalo. And then because of that, Buffalo gets back. And then obviously Chris Jones forces that fumble on Josh Allen, and the Chiefs try to scoop it and run it, and they don't fall on the ball, and the Bills wind up getting it. They go for it on 4th and goal, and they cut breaks in this game, Rocky. It wasn't perfect, but at this point, what do we expect from this Kansas City Chiefs team? We got a whole regular season of moments like that. Now we're in the playoffs, and the idea is just to minimize all of those things. And they've done a good enough job minimizing all those things. There's another AFC Championship game. What an unbelievable run we are on right now. 2 months ago, I don't think Chiefs fans thought this team had any business being here, and yet here we are again, Rocky.
On Christmas Day, Chiefs fans didn't think we had any business being here. I mean, when we got blown out of the stadium by the Oakland Raiders, right? I mean, like that was almost probably the low point of the whole season. And McCole Hardman, first of all, Andy, you're right. Andy Reid, stop getting cute. You're 1st and goal from the 3-yard line. Run the ball up Creed.
I don't ever want to see it again. I don't ever want to see it again.
Yeah, run the ball up Creed Humphrey's dark side and just go for it. Do it 4 times in a row. If you get stopped, then they have to go 99 yards to score. That's the truth of the matter. Hand it off to Pacheco, hand it off to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, whatever you want to do. Hand it off to Noah Gray. I don't care. But get behind your big fat guys and try to get 3 yards just straight up the middle. And getting cute like this, it costs you a turnover, it almost costs you the game. There's no excuse for it. And then McCole Hardman, could you execute the play any worse? You got situational football. You got to know you don't reach for the goal line when you have the lead. You don't reach for the goal line when it's 1st and goal. You don't reach for the goal line when it's a close playoff game. You put 2 hands on the ball, go down the 1-yard line, live to fight another day. You reach out for the goal line like that and you expose the ball. And of course they swat it out of the back because that's what every defender is taught to do. That's what every defender's taught to do.
He had 2 touches tonight and he fumbled it both times he touched the football.
Like football coaches will drill into your head, do not reach across the goal line unless we're losing and we have to have the score to win the game. And it's crunch time. Any other time, live to fight another day. McCole, where is the disconnect between what you hear and what you do? That's the thing that I don't get. And it sucks because as a person, I think McCole Hardman's probably a great teammate. I think he's a really good dude. I think he tries really hard. I think he loves Kansas City. He loves being a Chief and he loves everything about it. But it's man, I want you to do the right thing, McCole. Help us help you because you're killing me, McCole. You're just killing me, man.
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal night from him. And I think the problem too moving forward is yeah, but I think we're going to keep seeing some McCole Hardman touches moving forward because they're not going to run those plays with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They're not just going to stop doing those plays either. I'd rather see Rashee Rice do them, but they're already giving Rashee Rice a ton of run now. So I don't really know that. I mean, maybe it's Richie James. They don't really have anybody else to throw back there. It's not going to be Sky Moore. I know they mentioned this week that Sky Moore could get activated off of IR, but Sky Moore's not going to be a contributor. We've already seen what they have there. That they just don't really have anybody else unless we want to put Kadarius Toney back in the game if he ever gets healthy again, which is the same thing. It's the same thing as McCole Hardman. It's not any more reliable than he is as a player. So it's just moving forward. And they did it for the most part tonight. It's Pacheco, it's Rice, it's Kelce. Everybody else, if you can get a play from Justin Watson, if you can get a play from Marquez Valdez-Scantling, if you can get McCole Hardman to touch the ball without fumbling it, then everything else is cool. And you're happy with any outcome as long as it's not a turnover.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, okay, you're not going to stop calling those plays. I don't care if the player's fast. I don't care if they're effective. If you're going to call them, then just make sure it's somebody who's going to protect the ball. That's your number one job there. And honestly, bring Clyde Edwards-Helaire on a jet sweep. Give him the wide receiver screens. Line him up in the slot. Like he's not as fast as the other guys. He's not as dynamic, but he's going to protect the ball and he's going to get some positive yards. Like just like that crucial of a point in the game. Like that was the point where the Chiefs had a chance to blow the doors open on the game and go up 2 scores. Like that's the play call. Like that was the play call when you had to have it. That was your had to have it play call right there. Like that's the like that's not just like that's on Andy Reid, that's on Matt Nagy, it's on McCole Hardman. Heck, I would have preferred Patrick Mahomes to pull a Jameis Winston up there and say, we're making a team decision in the huddle and just give the ball to Isaiah Pacheco and audible, like, yeah, you just can't, you can't run that play in that situation. And sadly, we have one of the greatest head coaches of all time. And we also have the same coach who has a proclivity to call crazy calls like that at the most inopportune times.
Yeah, it's just they don't have the personnel to run those things, and I wish Andy would stop trying to force it. But it is who he is, and Andy Reid wasn't without his faults. That even outside of that call in this game, like still some issues with clock management that we don't really discuss anymore because he's got Patrick Mahomes, and still some frustrating things like that. But overall, it's at this point, we know exactly who these Chiefs are. And if you expect anything more than what they did tonight out of them, you're just kind of lying to yourself. Like, I still think the defense is capable of putting together an elite performance. I think tonight was just one of those nights where Josh Allen was not going to go down without putting one of the best games he's played in his life on tape. And it really was that kind of matchup. Like, maybe it wasn't quite the 13-second game, but this was another incredible divisional round matchup between these two teams. Like, it is worth mentioning that guard Joe Thuney also left this game with a chest injury. So the Chiefs came out of this one banged up. And that was the thing too, Rocky. This was a physical game. And we've talked about that with the Chiefs recently. Like, this is the first time I think in this era that you could say like the Chiefs are a physical team. They can go out there and they can bang with some of these other teams that really just want to lay into you and like hurt you physically. And the Bills are that kind of team too. And the Bills were doing that tonight. Like, the Chiefs came out of this game very banged up because Buffalo was playing physical all night long, as we saw. Like, that was what was so frustrating in the first half, is like that the Chiefs can't even get into an advantageous situation defensively because they can't do anything about the Bills' rushing attack. The Bills are just running it down their throats. And then Josh Allen's such a handful to try to bring down that he's ripping off 15-yard runs. And it's like, it was just constant third and short. You don't force the Bills into situations where Josh Allen has to drop back and hang in the pocket and try to look downfield, which is where the pass rush can win, which is where your secondary can make plays. Like, it was all out in front of them, and it was all easy. Okay, well, we don't need to get 50 yards. We're going to get 7-8 yards. We're going to set up third and shorts, and we're just going to keep rushing the football. And it was a great game plan. It gave the Chiefs problems on defense all night. Like, that was the most frustrating Chiefs defensive game I think I've seen them play all season.
Oh, 100%. It was by far the most frustrating defensive game. And I don't care, whichever team came out of this on top was going to be banged up. Both teams had guys dropping like flies. I mean, we saw Khalil Shakir go out. You saw Dawson Knox go out. You saw Dalton Kincaid go out at some point. Like the Broncos were losing guys just as fast as the Chiefs were. And it was like, who can plug the holes the fastest and adjust their game plans accordingly, in this game. And I was honestly shocked that Joe Thuney came out of the game, because I feel like the man would play after a shotgun blast to the chest. Like, what happened to him that finally took him out of the game? Was it like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom and Kali Ma showed up at the bottom of a pile, just ripped his heart out of his chest? Because, like, how do you get Joe Thuney out of the game? Like, we haven't seen it. Like, he played with a broken hand for like 6 weeks. He played like left tackle with a broken hand, if I remember correctly.
Well, but that's the thing too. And Mahomes was incredible tonight. Like, I don't believe he got sacked a single time on the night. Like, he was incredible avoiding pressure and keeping his eyes downfield. But like, that's another thing. Like, I go back to the physicality of this Bills team, and that defensive line isn't loaded with like high end pass rushers, but they can get pressure on the quarterback. But what they are is big and physical. Like those dudes want to clog up the middle and they want to bang you up. And that's exactly what they did to the Chiefs offensive line for most of the night. But the Chiefs had success running the ball. They were still great with the rushes from Isaiah Pacheco. And then Mahomes was just lights out, making plays tonight. Like that's what it comes down to. And they're coming out of this game very banged up. And it worries me a little bit about next week's AFC Championship game as they head to Baltimore. But Patrick Mahomes gets his first ever road playoff win, Rocky, in another just incredible game.
Well, I mean, was there ever like if there was doubt that the Chiefs were going to win this game, or was there ever any doubt that Patrick Mahomes was going to struggle in a hostile environment with the game, like with the season on the line, that the pressure was going to be too much, in Buffalo because maybe it was cold and there was lake effect snow coming in, or it was hostile fans or anything. Like no, forget let's not forget who we're talking about. We got Patrick effing Mahomes as our quarterback. Like that's the whole thing before the game. Like Bill Cowher chose the Bills to win this game. And sure, fine. Like you said, the Bills match up really well against the Chiefs, but you don't pick against Jordan in the playoffs. Like until they lose, you pick the Chiefs. I'm going to pick the Chiefs next week too. Do I think that the Baltimore might be a better team? Sure. Do they have Patrick Mahomes? No. Yeah. How many AFC Championship games has Lamar Jackson won? 0. There's only 2 quarterbacks left in the playoffs right now who have been to a Super Bowl, and that's Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes, right? And so at this point, until somebody proves that they can knock Jordan out of the playoffs, I'm choosing Jordan every single time because that's who we have at quarterback. And people people love to pick against the Chiefs because they like to try to pick against the dynasty because the NFL desperately does not want the Chiefs to be a dynasty. They've engineered their entire league to try to prevent the New England Patriots from happening again.
Dynasty.
They're not. Listen, they're not rigging the games. I'm not saying anything like that. But I'm saying the NFL would prefer it if different team won the Super Bowl every single year.
Sure. And true. And the Chiefs have their work cut out for them because that Baltimore team is very talented.
But I'm not picking against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Ever. Is he going to lose sometimes? Sure. But history has shown us that in a must-have win game situation and in the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes is going to do something incredible and will the team to victory.
I really want to start talking about the Ravens, but I know we've got so much time this week and we'll have so much coverage ahead of the AFC Championship game. I really don't want to get into it on the Rapid Reaction Show right now. I want to soak in Chiefs 27-24 win, 6th straight AFC Championship game. I don't want to turn the page to the Baltimore Ravens yet because I got a lot of feelings on that game and how the Chiefs match up with them, but it's going to be another very rough contest. So we'll keep an eye out this week at arrowheadpride.com on all the Chiefs injuries. We'll have all the info for you guys there as well as right here on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. But let's get to some comments before we get out of here and wrap this thing up. I also want to remind you guys we'll have the post-game press conferences immediately following the commercial break if you're listening to us on the podcast page. From Garen, if Diggs wants to get to the end of the rainbow, he needs to ask to come to the Chiefs. Well, I mean, I don't think that's really up to him at this point. And honestly, do you want Stefon Diggs? Stefon Diggs has had a very rough end to the season. And this is the 2nd straight year, Rocky, that Diggs was dramatically worse in the back half of the season than he was at the start of the year. And he's getting up there in age now.
Listen, I agree 100%. That was a 7th straight game where he didn't go over 100 yards receiving, I think. And let's face it, he was a non-factor in this game today, and part of that was because he let a crucial pass go through a deep ball go through his hands, and he played the ball poorly. Do the Chiefs need wide receiver help? Without a doubt. The Chiefs have somehow assembled a collection of wide receivers aside from Rashee Rice that seem to have very low football IQ on lots of occasions. And I'm trying to, this is 2024. I'm being positive, Rocky. I'm sure they're trying their best and they're great guys. But football IQ, not the brightest fellas. So they do need wide receiver help. Do I think Stefon Diggs at this point is the answer to the problems? No, I think he might be a cancer in the locker room. I think he probably was playing hurt this year. Who knows? We don't really know, but I know that his production was not good down the stretch. He wasn't a difference maker in a big game, and that's what the Chiefs honestly need is another difference maker.
Yeah, I would be very happy if they signed Mike Evans. I would like Mike Evans over Stephon Diggs at this point. From Pete, go Chiefs. Next week is going to come down to who is injured on defense. Proud of our team. McCole once again made me lose my mind. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I think the biggest thing will be whether or not Willie Gay, and that's more concerning to me, I think, than any of the Chiefs' injuries tonight. Like Mike Edwards, a concussion's concerning because we know how shorthanded they are at the safety position. But I thought the guys that filled in for him there, though, did a decent job. And the Bills really didn't take that many deep shots down the field tonight. So I thought the safeties played okay overall, considering Mike Edwards was only in this game for 2 plays before he left with the concussion. But Willie Gay is much more concerning to me because he was not on the injury report this week, Rocky. And then all of a sudden he pops up on Saturday with a neck injury designation. He's questionable to go and then only makes it through a handful of plays in this game before he has to leave with the neck injury. So that's concerning to me because Willie, it's for the Chiefs linebackers. I feel like there's been growing pains despite the depth and the talent that we talk about with that group. Like they're all good at one thing, but none of them are great at everything. And so they really need that collection of guys to be healthy because I think it definitely made a difference not having Willie Gay out there on Sunday evening because he is the Chiefs' most athletic linebacker when you talk about like shadowing Josh Allen and trying to slow down the run game and things like that. Like Nick Bolton's your run stuffer around the line of scrimmage kind of linebacker, but Willie Gay brings the athleticism to the table that Nick Bolton just doesn't have.
Willie Gay has that explosiveness where he can get in the backfield in the blink of an eye and stop a runner. It sucks because you have Willie Gay on your roster precisely for tonight's game. Like this game should have been the Willie Gay game. Like this would have like if Willie Gay would have played all 4 quarters, I guarantee you we're talking about Willie Gay making 12 tackles and probably having some really big plays, down the stretch. And so it sucks that we were kind of robbed of that because this, like you could tell coming out, like their game plan was to put Willie Gay on Josh Allen as a spy to limit his effectiveness. And Willie Gay goes out and Josh Allen runs all over us and they can't get off the field. One guy who I thought stepped up huge in this game and kind of is like an unsung hero of this defense a little bit down the stretch, and especially tonight, was Chamari Connor. Their first stop, the defense's first stop they got on the Bills on that 3-play series, Chamari Connor made 3 crucial stops to force the Bills to punt the ball the very first time. And that was a point in the game where the Chiefs hadn't stopped the Bills all game. It was the very first time the Chiefs were able to get off the field. And that was because Chamari Connor made 2 really big plays in that series. And I think he's a guy that's come along slowly this year, but he's another guy with Mike Edwards possibly being out that the Chiefs are going to need to step up. And he's been a really great find by another great defensive back found by Brett Veach and his team. And so I'm excited to see Chamari Connor play next week, but the Chiefs have got to get healthy. Hopefully Derek Nottie can go next week. That's the big one, I think, especially because he's the guy that's not going to get moved off of his spot by Baltimore and force Lamar to maybe run lateral instead of up the middle like we saw Josh Allen do today. Omenihu has to be better at containment. Like Omenahu's a great pass rusher. I like him a lot as a player, but he lost containment multiple times tonight and allowed Josh Allen to run. So containment has to be better against Lamar, and we got to get Derek Nottie back.
Yeah, it's the ability of Josh Allen to just always seemingly just avoid the pressure and run away and create these big plays with his legs is something that has burned the Chiefs multiple times in the past against this team. And obviously it's something that you always have to worry about with Lamar Jackson because we saw what he did to the Houston Texans. He had over 100 rushing yards in that game and 2 rushing touchdowns. Like it's absolutely dynamic. And he was phenomenal in that game. Like you got another really tough test against the Baltimore Ravens coming up. And I am glad that you mentioned Chamari Connor. I think I mentioned him earlier in the show. Like, I think the Chiefs really found something in him. He's going to be a player that has a chance to have a significant role for them on defense next season. And If Mike Edwards can't clear the concussion protocol, he could wind up playing a huge role next week because we know Brian Cook's not going to be available. So the Chiefs are already thin there. And Shamari Connor is a talented player who is really flashing things this season and limited work on defense. So I think Chiefs fans should be really excited about him moving forward. But Kramer, do we have any more comments before we get out of here? From Charles, this is awesome. I love being a Chiefs fan. I never thought I'd say it. Well, it's been pretty awesome to be a Chiefs fan for a while now. So yeah, feel good about it. Celebrate. It does feel like with all the ups and downs of this season and all the crazy growth, like Rocky, it literally took this team until like week 17 to figure out what their identity was on offense. And now here they find themselves in an AFC Championship game again.
Thank God the playoffs don't start till week 18, huh? Or week 19. Week 19. Thank God that they had a bye week. Then once they found out who they were to kind of game plan for who they were. Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like the NBA, man. I said it before that like the regular season in the AFC West matters, but not as much as the play. Like not as much. Really, like the Chiefs turned it on, and in the playoffs. And I agree. Like I'm not a young guy. I for the bulk of my life, the Chiefs really broke my heart, like just over and over again. And they ran Damian Heward out there at quarterback, and then they ran Steve Bono out there at quarterback. Then they had Elvis Grbac out there at quarterback. Then they chose Elvis Grbac over Rich Gannon at quarterback. And it was just, I mean, then we tried to start Brody Croyle at quarterback. We had Tyler Thigpen as our starting quarterback. Like just years and years and years of just subpar quarterback play or just good enough to make the playoffs and break your heart quarterback play, and never had a killer instinct, never had a big game player aside from Joe Montana in the twilight of his career. And I still pinch myself that we have Andy Reid as our head coach and Patrick Mahomes as our quarterback, that Clark Hunt, Lamar Hunt, may God rest his soul, wherever he is right now, has to be so proud of what Clark Hunt's done with his franchise since he took over. Like he has to be looking down on his son right now with so much pride that when push came to shove, he got on an airplane, he flew and met Andy Reid where he was at and said, "I'm not leaving this meeting until you end up being my head coach. You are what we need to turn this franchise around, fulfill my father's vision for this franchise." And then they turned around and said, "That's the quarterback that we need to build this franchise. And we're going to do whatever it takes, even if it's a little shady stuff behind the scenes, talking to his agent and a lot of stuff that they did. I don't care. To do whatever it takes to get the quarterback that you need to fulfill Lamar Hunt's vision and build this team to what it should have been, and to give this city and this fan base." There's not a more dedicated fan base.
Yeah.
I love Bills Mafia. They're not Chiefs Kingdom. There's not a more dedicated fan base in the NFL, in sports almost, than Chiefs fans. Like, we love our team so much. And Lamar Hunt loved this team in this city so much. And the fact that Clark Hunt went out there and built this dynasty and this juggernaut into what it is today under his leadership, his father just has to be so proud of him right now.
Yeah. Getting us a little emotional here at the end of the rapid reaction show.
Playoff victories, baby. It's an emotional thing.
No, and they're not easy. They don't come by very often. Chiefs are headed to their 6th straight AFC Championship game. No matter what happens next week, the fact that this team this season is in this situation is something to be celebrated. It is astounding. It is unbelievable. I think a lot of Chiefs fans would not expect the Chiefs to be in this situation, especially like when we talk about Rocky. I just mentioned, like, you think back to that Cincinnati Bengals game, and if the Chiefs somehow make it to a Super Bowl, it is a tall task. That Baltimore team, again, is very, very talented. If they somehow make it back to another Super Bowl this season, we're going to look back at that Week 17 Cincinnati game against Jake Browning and say that was the turning point. That late in the season was the turning point for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. It did not seem like they had any answers all season long. Still wound up is the 3 seed in the AFC. still on their way to another AFC Championship game. Just absolutely unreal performance, and another just epic, legendary Patrick Mahomes performance on the biggest stage. And it is why he is the best player in the world right now. And it's not even close, really. Like, there's some really, really good football players right now, but nobody is Patrick Mahomes. And what he has done is absolutely unprecedented. But we got to get out of here. Go celebrate. Have fun tonight. Kansas City, as always, please make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review everything that we're doing right here on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. Make sure you're locked into arrowheadpride.com. We got everything you need to know this week ahead of the AFC Championship game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. I believe the official time for that is 2 p.m. Arrowhead time on Sunday. The Chiefs got the early game, which I am always a fan of, the AFC Championship game being the early game on Sunday. So we'll talk to you guys then. We got plenty to discuss this week ahead of a massive contest. And remember, if you're listening to us on the podcast page, stick around after the commercial break. We'll have the post-game press conferences for you guys immediately following this commercial timeout. We'll talk to you guys then.